And we are back for another installment of Today in Esports on the Global Gaming Network channel. There was so much that went down in the past 7 days. Pro players retiring, old venues retiring as well. The video that comes along with it is heart-drenching enough as it is. But throughout all of it, we did have some competition specifically for League of Legends. All of that and some more. This is Today in Esports on the Global Gaming Network channel. My name is Andy. Joining with me is Chris, and we had ourselves a whale of a weekend, my friend.
We really did, and we're gonna have a whale of a week coming up as well we have Counter-Strike starting. We also have, as you said, League is also going to be going on. So we have a lot to go over and a lot coming up. But let's go ahead and jump into it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and start right immediately with Counter-Strike. Again, for the Austin Major is about to be underway. And there's so much just to be talking about when it comes down to Blast and how they were putting off this entire tournament. What is it? Somewhere near about a 16-team Swiss formatted system. And the way that it's all going to be operating is you want to win 3 series before you lose 3 series. And the understanding behind all of this is that for elimination and qualification matches, those are best of 3s, but everything else in between, specifically for stage 1, that's happening at the time of this recording release and through the week, like Chris was mentioning, those are best of 1s. And throughout all of it, I mean, we're going to be waiting to see like the top 3 teams try to face off against each other again. Malice versus Vitality is the most recent grand finals. We have Falcons into the mix through the Modesty acquisition. G2 is trying to mess with their roster as well. So the top 8 teams from all of these Swiss teams will then advance into stage 2. So it's going to be quite a lot of action throughout the week.
It is, and then as you said, we have a lot of the stage 2. We're going to be looking at stage 1 here though, and as we said, a plethora of games coming out here. On the automated ones, we see Heroic there. Complexity versus OG should be a really good matchup as well. What else are you looking forward to? Yeah,
I mean, we got the 2 brothers, Susp and Adam. Twin brothers are actually going to be facing each other in that opening round between Messi Sport and Wildcard, so that should be a good one. But the stage 2 is going to be happening from June 7th all the way into the 10th. It's the same format as before. Notable teams now being introduced into the mix for stage 2. You can see 3D Max, FaZe, Falcons, VP, FURIA, MIBR, a lot of Latin American representation, but then stage 3 is going to be starting on the 12th.
Yes, and this is where you want to get to, and these are where the top dogs are. Vitality, Spirit, Malice, as you said, but we also have Mongols, G2, Aurora, Navi, Liquid. Everyone wants to get here, all leading to that round 5 at the end on June 14th, where we're going to see everyone move off to the playoff stage as well.
Yeah, should honestly be a really good time to be able to see who does make it all the way in towards those stage 3s, but we also had some more news in the Counter-Strike scene.
From humble beginnings in Hanover to greatness in Katowice, our journey is our legacy. As we arrive at what we thought was our peak, we instead discover a whole new chapter.
Yeah, I tell you, that video gives me absolute chills. For IEM Katowice, unfortunately, will no longer be the housing for the Polish Grand Major. Now we're going to be moving over towards Krakow, the Tauron Arena. But although it under 100 miles away, it's still such a historic moment for Counter-Strike.
It is, and then, but it's expanding, then that's what we're doing here. We're moving Katowice to a larger city, larger venue, because they see the growth of it. And so it's good to see that they're acknowledging it and they're willing to put steps forward. So we all have to see how that goes. It does start into next year. We will see it in January of next year. So it's going to get you right at the beginning, but new stage that we're going to be moving into. So a lot going on in the Counter-Strike scene.
Yeah, I mean, look, Krakow is an absolute gorgeous city at the end of it. Poland is just an absolute beautiful country. And although IEM Katowice may no longer be the housing, again, it's under 100 miles away. But for FaZe's memories, for all of Spirit's memories, and most recently for Vitality's 3-0 win over Spirit at the most recent IEM Katowice, we say salute to you, and we look forward to IEM Krakow. But hey, if you want to aim as well as dunk and maybe be up on the main stage there at IEM Krakow, one of the best ways to do that is with the leading aim labs and all of the testing that you can get along with this wonderful program. You can find it on Steam along with other different programs. Here's a quick look at what aim labs can offer for you.
Games are about competition, a way to test our skill and prove we are better. Challenge is in our nature. We need to know what we're capable of. How far can we go? It's a question that drives millions of gamers to push themselves and prove that it's only a matter of sheer will. Ever since first-person shooters came into the esports scene, players have never stopped defying the odds through the most important mechanic of them all: aim. Aim is everything. It's a set of skills that needs to be trained, and this is where science and gaming meet in Aim Labs, the aim trainer that redefines what gaming means, because science doesn't leave anything to chance. Winning is never a matter of luck. Every brief moment of greatness takes constant and unrelenting preparation, and that's exactly what Aim Labs is about. We enable players to thrive and upset the balance. Together, we elevate play.
And well, aiming is always great, but let's move into one of our other shooters here, Call of Duty. And well, we had some news. We talked about this a little bit last week, but Attach is retiring. And as you know, our aficionado and COD over here, Andy, can tell us a little bit more, but let's run down about Attach.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to. Look, Dylan Attach Price has a very long history when it comes down to Call of Duty, and throughout all of its history, he has one thing that will be no easy triumph to compete against. He is the youngest world champion to ever play Call of Duty. He achieved such a feat at 18 years and 2 months under Denial Esports, playing alongside JCap, what is now known as Crowder, formerly known as Replays, as well as James Eubanks, Mr. Clayster himself. So starting all the way back then, I mean, Attach has accrued so many different highlight moments throughout all of his history. Starting off with this one is probably I would say the most notorious clip, through the artillery strike for the two-piece onto Karma and Scump here on London Docks in around 11 versus Optic Gaming. Then went on to be able to win that series as well. Continued to play on with FaZe Clan, again, longtime teammates of Zuma, as well as Enable in this matchup versus Rise Nation. And a 1v2 turns around for the fellow Snap and Burn. Attach at a very young age, was constantly putting on highlight moments like this. But sometimes, maybe not for the best. Here in the round 11, trying to wallbang through the fence. If you know the audio, well, you just know what was happening here in this cursed matchup right there. You see Derek losing his absolute freaking mind. But it's one of those things that Attach, maybe you cannot wallbang certain things, but one thing he was absolutely a part of was CDL's history, the Minnesota Heist, where it was a full-on reverse sweep versus Toronto Ultra. They were down 0-4, and then they went on to win 5 maps in a row to be able to win that major. To say that Attach has a mark on the CDL community, let alone the Call of Duty scene as a whole, would be putting it very lightly. And although his presence will be missed, we have been seeing Attach as much as recently help coach the FC Stallions, although they won't be making it to Challengers Finals. He was still in call with longtime duo of Tommy Zuma. He also took time in his retirement video to talk alongside a lot of his other teammates and just really house all the emotion behind the full-on retirement around it. But we're so hopeful. Look, I mean, if the game is good, Attach might come back. He's already hinted that on his stream, but maybe coaching could be into the mix. It's been a very, very fun week to be able to go over all these different highlight moments for Attach, but maybe it's not the last time that we will see of Captain Price. But as far as other Call of Duty news is concerned, Champs is going to be happening in about 3 weeks' time, and we do have the top 8 teams that will be in attendance for that event. You can see right here the championship bracket. Number 1 seed LA Thieves going up against number 8 seed Boston Breach. Fun fact, last time they faced against each other in such a way at LAN, Boston Breach actually did end up beating LA Thieves. But FaZe versus Optic as a round 1 matchup should be a very interesting time. Again, this is all happening on June 25th. But in other news, we also have some Challengers action that was going on throughout the entirety of this past weekend. And the reason why we talk about Challengers in the amateur scene specifically for Call of Duty is because there is Esports World Cup implications. If you were able to win the LCQ this past weekend regionally, you are going to be joining a total of 16 plus teams in a Challengers final bracket, Swiss, going into a double elimination championship bracket. And if you place top 3, you're actually going to be joining the franchise teams alongside Omid, who won DreamHack in the previous major at the Esports World Cup in the 3rd week, to be playing Black Ops 6 against the other pros. So tons of different Call of Duty news that is happening all the way across the scene, but that is what is most recent. And although that teams may not be competing at Champs, we will be seeing them at Esports World Cup, maybe some other roster changes as well.
Yeah, and we're excited for that. And as you said, you know, it could be big for those challenger teams to move up to Esports World Cup, get their name out, because we've heard a lot of things about maybe challenger players not doing as well or being able to move up. That could be their spot to shine. So we'll have to see what happens there in the next coming weeks. But League of Legends is going on. We don't have to wait for that. That's been happening over the weekend, and we are ready to jump into the lower bracket and some of the upper brackets as well that we've had in Europe. But NA started with their lower brackets, so let's go ahead and jump into those first. We did have Team Liquid versus Team Dignitas as our first match on Saturday. So let's go ahead and jump into that to see how that played out. Here we are, the first lower bracket game, Team Liquid versus Dignitas kicked off, and what a game it was. So Dignitas is coming in, trying to prove themselves. Liquid, though, having UG, unfortunately didn't work out too well for them in their upper bracket game. Come down to the lower bracket here, and we see how they are playing out. Big, though, Yan and Core coming out massive for the team, and this is where a lot of their success comes around from. Yan ended up going 18-18, Core 4-4-34. This is exactly what we want. They're considered one of the best duos in the LTA North right now, and they come out and they showed out in spades here. Core getting the kill here up into Yan able to get the kill as well. Unfortunately though, UG played all 4 games that didn't have the best showing this weekend, and it's kind of coming down to him not making some of the best plays, but when you're able to have your team pick it up for you, it's able to work out a lot better. Though they did lose game number 2. Unfortunately for Yan, he did go 6-2-2 in that game as the Kaisa, but it doesn't matter when you're able to come out and dominate the rest of the game. When they're when they're able to keep it under the 30-minute mark, they did a lot better. They're able to take the games here. As we can see them farming for KDA at the end, they did a very good job, but this will allow Team Liquid to move on to the next round. They're able to get the 3-1 win on Dignitas, and they move on. Dignitas has been eliminated, but let's go ahead and jump into our second lower bracket match, as we did have Shopify Rebellion taking on 100 Thieves to see else who would move on. And this game was a banger for Shopify Rebellion. They came out, they've been looking a lot better as they were going on. They were still doubted coming into the series. The analysts on the LOL desk put 3-1 in favor of 100 Thieves. Shopify showed everybody wrong except for their fans. And this is exactly what you want to see out of a rising team like this. Their drafting was impeccable. You have a lot of the good drafts coming out. They had Sin at the very beginning. They picked Emilio into the Sejuani on the second round. They were able to get that, and it's shown a lot of draft preparation coming into this match for 100 Thieves, who should have been able to do the same to them as Shopify was in that first round versus FlyQuest. The opposite was said. Shopify looked a lot better going into this game, and this is exactly what you need. So Fudge, Contracts, Palafox all actually had rises in their KDA. They went from a 2-something KDA to about a 3 in the playoffs so far. So not only that, but B-Boy is now having help on his end when he's able to have the other carries as well as his jungler pick up some of the slack, and they're able to get a lot of these kills. On top of that, they had 69 kills to 39, 29 towers to 12, and 11 drakes to 4. So not only were they having massive amounts of kills, but they had a lot of the macro play where they were able to control the map over 100 Thieves, who just looked flat. It was more like 0 Thieves going into this one. So unfortunately, 100 Thieves has been knocked out. Great Shopify Rebellion, their playoff run continues. And let's go ahead and take a look at the bracket, how on this weekend played out, and what matches we have looking forward to going into this weekend. So, of course, as I said, we had the 3-1 for for Dignitas and Team Liquid. Team Liquid moved on. 100 Thieves for Shopify Rebellion was a 3-0 for Shopify Rebellion, and we'll have those games to look forward to. We do have Team Liquid versus Shopify Rebellion coming this weekend to see who moves on to the lower finals. But Andy, look at that other match: FlyQuest versus C9.
You got the redemption match. You got the 1v1 matchup that was the number 1 seed matchup that we were really taking a look at before playoffs even started. And I think this is going to be a perfect segue going into LEC as well, because if you win this, you guarantee top 2. You win this, you guaranteed EWC, the same way G2 did for LEC.
Yep, exactly. And for that, let's go ahead and move on though, because we do have Europe. They did have the match played on last Monday, which was that G2 versus MKOI match. So we'll go ahead and jump into that first to see who moved on. And we've already talked about it. It was G2 moving on, but G2 have looked like the team that everybody has expected them to look at going into this. They were overshadowed by Fnatic and KC for the majority of split 1, coming into split 2. They still looked a little bit shaky until the playoffs here. And now they look like the team. They have Caps, who's able to capitalize on a lot of the games now and is able to help Hansama and Lebrov in the bot lane. Now they have this mid lane carry. Of course, Broken Blade has always been solid, but Caps has always been that very big carry mid lane that you're expecting a lot of those plays to come out from. He went 22-7-23 in this series. His Ahri game, 12-3-12 on the Ahri. This is what we're looking forward to. And if you're going to MSI, you're going to be excited to see him because it wouldn't be MSI without Caps. So we're excited to see them move on to this as well. They do get that massive win over MKOI, who they have now knocked into the lower bracket, but they are going to get that golden ticket that we're going to see here in a bit after we see Hansama just running it down with this Draven. Looks really good. That Draven gameplay as well was massive, 6-1-3. But here it is. They get the golden ticket, a literal golden ticket to MSI. This looks amazing. Look how happy they are. Especially, I would be too after the run that they've had. So we do see them as the first participant to get to the to LEC, MSI, and as he said, the Esports World Cup, because if you qualify for MSI, for League of Legends, you also qualify for the Esports World Cup as well. But we still have some matches to go for, and our number 1 and number 2 seeds were knocked down to the lower bracket. So let's go ahead and jump into the lower bracket to see how those played out for the teams. First, we have Fnatic, who was the number 2 seed, versus GX, the number 5 seed. GX on the rise, Fnatic falling a little bit flat as well. They had to show redemption, and they did through this series. We did have a big jump up upset, was named MVP of the spring split, and he was the MVP of this series as well. 25-4 with a 12.3 KD in this match this series versus GX. You need him to show up, and he showed up here. The Kalista, we saw a little bit of that from the Team Liquid and Yon, and he's doing it here too. Look at this quadra kill. Could have been a penta, but it got stolen away. That's okay though. All that matters is the win at the end, but exactly where you need Upset to show up for this team, because he's been a big driving force to allow Fnatic to get to a lot of their wins. He shows up in this match here. Humanoid doing a good job as well. We're going to see the Jhin from Upset cleaning up some of the kills. They did lose the one match to GX though, so of course Fnatic is still showing a little bit of chinks in their armor, and of course they do have a massive game that they'll have to go into for the lower finals that they'll have to face off against KC. We'll go over that match in a little bit as well, but at the end of the day, this is what you want to see from the number 2 seed. They're looking a little bit better against some of the lower seeds. They're showing a little bit of better gameplay, and you have to kind of Upset carry. And the rest of the team can do that when you have Humanoid around him as well. It helps a lot. Oscar at the top lane, also playing those tanks, helped him out a lot. It's a good job by them. They'll be moving on. Now let's check it out though. KC played against Team Heretics in the second lower match, and this is kind of the big one. KC, number 1 seed, second at first stand. You don't expect them to be in the lower, but here they are fighting for their tournament lives, and they came back. This is the KC we love to see. They were having a little bit of trouble with the early game against some of the better teams. They were able to exploit that here, though they did a lot better in the early games. Team Heretics fell a lot. They came in a lot of back control as well, and I do love this pick here. Kalista on the center. You have Vladdy on the way. You're doing such a good job. Kana as well, able to carry on that Mbessa, and when you're putting all these together, it is recipes for success. And especially when you have Kana, Yike, and Vladdy all named first seed, and then Vladdy and Kana also voted for MVP, second and third place behind Yike. You expect them to carry, and they're doing that here. They did drop the one game, so again, LEC seeing the top teams, have a little bit of failure against some of these lower teams, but they're able to come back, bring it back, and I do think that overall the LEC is having some really good competition across the board, but it helps them clean up some of their play. They're able to get the 3-1 victory as well, pushing another best of 4. We're seeing really good drafts coming into game 4 for teams such as KC as well, and it helps them out a lot. Here they are though. This was a dominating game in game number 4. Look at that, 11 kills to 1 at the end there. They're playing for KDA at the end. They'll give up some deaths, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they are able to move on. And again, we had Vladdy going 15-8-20 in this series, Kana 13-4-13, and then at the end, Yike 13-12-24. When you have those big carries, named as all pro, and then they're putting performances like this, you are going to win. And that is exactly what KC has done. They want to get back to MSI and they want to do really well. But let's go ahead and take a look at the bracket, seeing what teams will be facing off against each other. As we said, we already saw that MKOI play G2. They are going to move on. G2 will now be going to MSI. And then in the lower, we did have Fnatic beat Giants 3-1, Carmine Corp beating Heretics 3-1 as well. They will face each other in the lower semi, which means one of them will be knocked out. One of the first two seeds will be knocked out and will have to face KOI in the lower finals on June 7th as well. So a lot of action will be going on going forward. And well, I can't say that I am looking forward to that match today. It's happening in about 30 minutes as well from the time of this recording. So we're going to be seeing a lot of gameplay and we'll go over that next week. But that is going to be one banger of a match. I can see that going all 5 as well. And KOI will have their work cut out for them at the end as well.
Big shout out to ASO. Again, make sure that you get those headphones on your ears because you want to be sitting down and listening to some of this new segment that ASO is currently sponsoring. It's all housed around Valorant, and if you're unaware, currently sitting behind me, Nats is currently having visa issues. And unfortunate to say that Nats will be missing that first opening series for Team Liquid after a dramatic qualification in the EMEA region. So what are they going to do for Team Liquid? They're going to pick up Penny. He's a local talent from the Canadian region. I want to say he's about maybe like an hour away from the venue, but whatever it may be, as far as their agent selections are concerned, it's just a little bit different. Here's what we got from Nats, right? Loves to play a lot more lockdown type of agents, really known for a lot of their Sentinel play, their Vice, their controller play, specifically on Icebox, as well as Split with the Viper. Very, very good at utilizing a lot of this utility. And, you know, for TL, with this player being missed for Nats, they're gonna actually be missing a lot of that double Sentinel play. So a lot of that actual call-up comes down to what the rest of the team composition is gonna be able to do. Because you really do need to try to tailor towards what you can do to make Penny even more comfortable, because you don't have the opening round bye. You're going to have to play through a handful of more matches, and that's also just a given whether or not Nats is even going to be able to get his visa approved in time. Their agent pool is so dramatically different. From controllers and Sentinels, Penny plays a lot of duelists, so I think that TL is going to have a really tough time when it comes down to the upcoming matches for their Swiss.
They are, and we're going to have to see how they adjust to that as well going into it. And as you said, you know, with the composition, maybe someone can pick it up, maybe someone can pick up the slack, but the shot calling as well is a major part that you're going to be missing from someone that's coming over, and not much playtime as well. You're going straight into Masters Toronto with it, so they have to kind of get that practice in for the little time that they can, straight into it, but we'll have to see how they plays out going forward. But we have a lot of other things that we're going to be looking forward to. Valorant Mobile is another one that we're going to be looking forward coming into that. So let's talk about that a little bit. Valorant Mobile, what do you think?
Valorant Mobile, I mean, like off the video, it looked fantastic. I mean, it looked very, very fluent. The video that we did get on the timeline was all off of an iPad. And although I do have a lot of experience in mobile gaming, specifically for Call of Duty, iPads aren't necessarily played at the competitive level, but look at just how fluent this all looks. I mean, the aiming, the FPS, so I can't actually see the actual number. I know that iPads do actually get 120 FPS. So, I mean, it looks pretty darn fluent to me, Chris. My question is competitiveness. Is this going to reach a stage that we can actually see people with like Samsung Galaxies or iPhones or ROG phones like up on the main stage? Like I've been watching Call of Duty Mobile in a lot of different years. I think it would be really cool because all the different buttons and the fluidity of the game, it looks like it's all there.
It does. And well, we will have our first tournament though that will be happening in China, hosted and partnered by OnePlus. So we'll most likely see those OnePlus phones being used. So we'll really get a feel of how they play out on the phones as well. Because of course, playing on the iPad or playing on a tablet, you have a bigger surface, bigger area that you can see from. Using the phone's a little bit smaller. So we'll have to see how it plays out in the competitiveness there. But you know, it will be nice to see. I'm really excited to see how that plays, but as you said, how long can that competitive scene last for if it does get there?
Well, we're going to be able to find out. The first mobile tournament is happening in Qingdao, China, sometime this month in June, so you want to make sure that you tune into all of that and all the happenings going on as far as the TL is concerned. But finally, for Valorant and all of its information, we are getting a massive overhaul to the game's life cycle. We're moving over towards a new stage of Unreal, and that's going to help out so many different stability issues for the game, including hitting benchmark PCs for FPS. It's not an intensive game, but when all those particle effects get on the screen, Unreal 5 might be able to help.
It will, and not only that though, but we also have a lot of we have multi-factor coming into play as well to help combat against smurfing, maybe against a little bit cheating as well, so that can't have a couple of different accounts locked up trying to stream snipe against, some players that are playing streaming. But multi-factor, I'm looking forward to that as well to see how it plays out. Some people may like, oh, I don't want to use the multi-factor, but think about it, you don't have to play against someone in your gold lobby that's, radiant. It's going to be really nice for you.
Chris just describing my weekend Valorant matches to an absolute T. And then in final news, again, Masters Toronto is about to be underway. The pinnacle as far as Valorant competition until we get to the Esports World Cup is about to be kicking off in Toronto, starting off with their Swiss stage matches like we talked about. The biggest conversation right now is that Nats will not be there for TL, but I generally think that a lot of these matches might swing in a lot of different directions. Again, when it comes down to the upsets, Paper X versus Heretics is a round 1 match. That's kind of nutty. Paper X going in towards this new patch versus Heretics and Benji Fishy should be a banger. Again, with no Teo being played as much in this meta, who honestly knows what we're going to be getting as well with MIBR Aspas on the Raze versus Gen G. I'm here for this, man. This opening Swiss is about to be going crazy, but TL versus Billy, tough when it comes to Nats. A good lunch, have fries.
There isn't a wrong way to look at this and say, what do I want to watch? It's how can I make sure I watch all of it? Yeah. Look at this, just looks good across the board here. I'm especially excited to see how Sentinels play out. Been a big Sentinels fan since Sin has been there. Of course, I do want to see how the rest play out though. Billy watching the Chinese region has been coming up a lot as well. So it's really nice to see how these are all coming out. But on top of that though, we did miss one thing that we probably should go over that might be good for this. Replay system. There
is that replay system. Yeah, it's going to be actually really nice to be able to go back and be able to actually watch all the pro plays develop, and then being able to put ourselves in a situation to be able to fully learn from all of that. But again, keep in mind for all of that Swiss play, the other teams that actually won the regional stage competition, they will be already slotted into a later stage. So if you're wondering where G2 is, don't worry, they will most certainly be there. It'll be a rocking good time. But let us know if we miss anything down in the comments down below. Like, comment, and subscribe to the Global Gaming Network channel so that you can follow along for all the different shows along the way. We got news updates on Wednesdays, queued up, coming out Tuesdays and Fridays, as well as today in esports, Mondays for the big guys, and Mondays and Fridays for the short ones as well. We look forward to seeing you in the comments and all the conversations that come along with it. Have a good one.